Action. Action. Lucy, it's not working.
Here we go, 2025. There they go. Woohoo! Since I'm done. Hey, hey! Woohoo! My people!
Happy New Year!
Happy New
I've been running with the Joneses for 1 year in January, and it has been the best time ever. I have not run any races this year, or maybe one, but it was of no consequence. But I did learn some things this year, and I made a list so I wouldn't forget them. The first thing that I learned on my first day is that you can tell Colombo that you need 5 miles and you might get 7 or 8, but there'll be 7 very happy miles. I learned that I can do tempo miles in the middle of a long run in the summer. Thanks, Hasita. That was a good learning experience. I learned that there are hills in Johns Creek, and it seems like everybody can sprint up those hills but me. I'm working on it. And I learned that a great running group is the best thing ever. The Joneses have embraced me, and I am so thankful, and I love each and every one of you. Merry Christmas.
Okay, so favorite race this year was, I would say, the Turkey Trot on Thanksgiving Day. I hadn't run a ton of races this year, but that one was just special to me because I was supposed to run it a couple years ago. Wasn't able to as I intended. So it was nice to be back home and just run that race and solo score. I hate not doing the things I say I'm gonna do. And then the biggest lesson this year would be just continue to give myself grace and be kind to myself. And you know what? The journey is always better than the destination. So shared a lot of miles with the Joneses this year, and it's been incredibly rewarding. And it's good to have like-minded people to grow with. Merry Christmas.
So this year, as most of you know, I was training for a marathon. But due to a family situation, I had to step away about 3 weeks from the race day. While I didn't get to the start line, the journey gave me something just as meaningful. Along the way, I built some incredible friendships and found this amazing running community that I now truly call my friends. The biggest takeaway from this is what I learned was it's the people, right, who run alongside you, support you through all. And for this, I'm truly grateful. Thank you.
My favorite race this year was the Marine Corps Marathon. That was my very first marathon. Many thanks to Jeff Dubrow for telling me about that, and I think a couple of others in our group convinced me to do that one. Really great time. Tons of lessons I've learned over the past years, thanks to many of you, and many conversations with Paul about digging deep when you're on that final mile. And then Zach and Nate talked about zone training and making sure that you can hit your workouts more fresh. Also just how to not overtrain and live your life. Not just run and train all the time. Actually focus on other things in life. I know Dee has mentioned that to me before, as well as others, so many thanks to all of you.
Hi, it's Marilee. One of my favorite races this year is the question, and I was injured at the beginning of the year, end of last year, so I didn't do races this year. I made myself a promise not to. And I will say that my favorite race probably was the one where we all went to Riverside and I got to cheer for everyone on the team. It was a lot of fun, but my favorite workout was when I was recovering and we did an out and back on Jones Bridge. And because I was walking, I was able to run with the first group and then walk for a bit and run with another group and walk for a bit, run with another group. And then on the way back, the fast people came up and I ran with them for 40 seconds. And so it was really fun to be able to be involved in that way to see everyone, so many different people during one practice. And when it comes to what lesson I've learned this year, I think the big thing for me is that a little bit of accountability as to how we make ourselves do the things we want to do, but also that strength training and physical therapy is really important. When I'm in physical therapy, it's easy to do, and when I'm out of it, it's super hard. But it's super easy to run because I have you guys to run with, but it's harder to do the PT. But it's really key to keeping me from getting injured again. All right.
Hi guys. So, the most important race for me this year was the Peachtree race. I got to run it with the Joneses. It was my first race here in the US, which was deeply meaningful and memorable because that was my first of many races to come. I also learned that if I consistently show up, I could improve on my runs, not just my runs, but my quality of life. I think showing up for the runs, running with everybody has made me confident and disciplined in most areas of my life. Merry Christmas!
Hi everyone, so happy to be here. I wanted to share a little bit about the best race and the preferred race for me this year. It was the Alpharetta Half Marathon, even though it was not the first half marathon of my life. It was very special to me. It was the first race I ran with the Joneses run group and with Lucy and the team. And what made it so special was to have Lucy there, of course, cheering up for me and having fun, and my husband supporting, taking pictures and videos and all of that. I really love it. Lessons learned this year. It's about pushing yourself, being out of your comfort zone, even though you have done so much in anything in your life, even it can be running or swimming or whatever it may be. Try to be better, try to push yourself harder and be out of your comfort zone. And follow people that inspire you, and you can do much more than you believe. Thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, my fellow Joneses. 2025 has been an incredible year. We've seen 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons, ultras, sprinkle in some triathlons and some Ironman races. There is no shortage of unbelievable awesomeness in this group. One of the things that I believe binds us all together is that growth mindset, that will to overcome, the can-do attitude. Setting goals and blasting through them, it is a beautiful thing. Although awesome, I think we have to adapt and accept a different mindset when it comes to injuries. We don't get to blast through those things. We don't just overcome by sheer will. We have to be patient. We have to do all those little things that seemingly amount to a lot less than what we desire to be doing, which is train and compete. 2025 has been a very humbling year for me. I try to approach it the Ironman way. You'll be fine. Shut up, legs. Don't be a... Anyway, all of those things we hate to do, like stretching, mobility work, foam rolling, strengthening your glute med, fixing your posture, strengthening those arches. Along with consistency, these are the things that keep you in the game. Watching from the sidelines is meant for football, rugby, or hockey. So please don't skip these things. They make all the difference in the world. As I finish up, a friend of mine said something to me that is worth repeating and thinking about. My friend said that one difference between an amateur athlete and a professional athlete is that during competition, when things go wrong and the body is experiencing like a potential trauma, the professional stops in order to prevent further injury. They want to finish the season. They want to stay in the game. So You guys know what to do. This is not new. Do all the little things and stay in the game. Have a wonderful holiday season.
This year, I enjoyed the training leading up to the race more than the race itself, because the race might not always go the way you want. I love the journey building up to the race. The one thing I learned this year is life will be lifing, so you have to view setbacks as a setup to come back.
What did you learn from this last training block leading up to CIM? My answer to that is twofold. One is don't get too hung up on the individual plan for each day. Just make sure that you cover all of the miles, especially the long runs. And the second is it's a lot better to train with friends than to run alone, especially for the long runs. So doing those long runs with the Joneses really made the miles pass and made it a lot easier than doing this on my own. Second question is, what did I learn about myself or about life after mile 20? Sorry to disappoint you, Lucy, but I don't have any deep answers to that question. But after mile 20, I learned that I was really tired. And this might be cliche or it might be what everybody says, but it really is about mental toughness for that last 10K. And that's what I tell myself. It's only 10K. If you've run hard for the first 20 miles, you're going to be physically spent. So you only have 10K to go. Dig down deep. It's about finding it in yourself mentally. And what choice do you really have? If you stop, you got to get to the finish line anyway, so you might as well keep running hard. That's all I've got. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays.
I learned that my training block was basically a perfectly reconciled ledger. Every run lined up, every pace balanced, every workout executed so cleanly that you can ask my coach. He'll confirm. I was basically the gold standard of human spreadsheets. If training were an audit, I'd walk out with a pristine opinion and maybe even a bonus. And if the race had judged me slowly on training, I'd be getting a medal, a parade, and maybe audited for being too perfect. The second question was, what did I learn in mile 20? Arguably, I would say probably mile 16, in my specific case for this specific race. And I can say I learned that race day behaves like a surprise IRS audit. Nothing balances, everything hurts, and suddenly all the numbers you trusted for months look fraudulent. My performance depreciated faster than a luxury car leaving the lot. But I also learned I'm stubborn as hell. Even when the legs were filing for bankruptcy and my soul tried to draft its resignation letter, I refused to DNF. 0 chance. I may have run like a collapsing spreadsheet, but I finished because apparently my most reliable asset is pure, unprofitable stubbornness. My other asset is having a good friend who sacrificed her own race to help me with mine. That is an asset I will always be grateful for. And in mile 20, or at the finish, what I realized as I looked at my friends waiting for me in the cold and possibly hypothermic, all of us, was that it's truly the friendships, the training blocks that get you to the finish. Much more than the actual time goal that you may have set for yourself. While this particular race did not turn out the way that I had envisioned, and certainly what I had dreamt of, what I take away from it is that I have enough friends, and I am blessed in my life to have enough people, 12 of them, who got on a plane, flew across the country, ran their races, and celebrated me. So I can only hope that the next 40 years are like this one.
Okay, what I learned during training was just how much I could do on so little sleep. So there was definitely God's grace working overtime for me during that block. And during the race, I would say I learned in the later miles just how weak I am by myself, because I was very tempted to walk, and it's only because everybody around me was running and not a single person was walking that I was able to just suck it up and keep going until the finish. So that's it. Thanks. Let's look at my tattoo. Ooh.
I learned in this training block that we have to be patient with ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of grace. And things don't always happen at the time we want them to happen. What did I learn at mile 10, since I am only a half marathoner? Also learned this training block. I think I learned that racing's always hard, but it's fun being out there in the crowds and smiling with everybody and cheering with everyone as we get through. And we have a great running group. Everybody's so strong.
So once again, Lucy's getting me to do things that are outside of my comfort zone, things I normally wouldn't do. So I feel a little awkward about this, but she told me I had to do it, so I am. So when I first looked at the question, my first impression was, well, hey, this is my 13th marathon, so I, didn't really think I learned much, right? Yeah. But the more I thought about it, I did learn that, I gotta trust my experience. I need to trust how I feel. Things that work for me may not work for other people, and things that work for other people may not work for me, right? To stay calm, right? That, not to hold on to my goals too tightly, right? Like if I'm obsessing about my pace, right? If I don't hit my pace that I was expecting, how does that make me feel, right? That brings me down, that I need to stay calm and focused and not worry too much, right? To keep a positive mindset. This happened, at miles 6, 7, I had to pull back on my nutrition, right? Because, I was feeling like I was taking too much, right? So I had a plan, but I was also able to alter it, right? Like I didn't, feel like I knew that I would be good with skipping some of the nutrition and worry more about how I felt, right? I know how I should feel. I know how it feels to take too much nutrition, right? I stayed with a pace group at mile 17. I was ahead of my goal pace and they were still pushing forward, right? And I just had to let them go. And I was hitting my paces, right? I was hitting my paces, but the pace group was hot and I let them go because I knew that that was going to be too much for me and then I could blow up. I knew where my limits were. And I felt good about that, right? It didn't bother me. I didn't tell myself I was failing, right? When I eventually caught up with the pace group, I just passed them, right? I didn't slow down. I didn't worry about it. I trusted how I felt in that moment, right? And that's a hard thing with a marathon, right? Because it takes a lot of experience to know how things are supposed to feel, right? Because it's not a thing that most people do. I know marathons are hard. I know marathons can be like life, can be a roller coaster where you have your ups and downs. When you think that you can't go any further, if you keep pushing, sometimes you learn that you can. And I also know what it feels like to not hit your goals, right? To go in confident and not have the day that you expect, right? And I know the feeling of what it feels like to be walking at mile 22 with spectators yelling at you to run, right? And yeah, so I've done that, right? I know that, but like I said, this is my fastest marathon. This is probably one of my best executed marathons, but what I'm really going to remember is not that, right? It's really going to be the experience, and the people that I was with, right? That, the conversations, right? Just being around a group of fun, loving, good people, right? And that's what I'm going to remember, right? From this trip. It's not going to be the PR. It's not going to be the course or the crowds. It's really going to be the people that I was there with, right? And I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate this group. Thanks, Lucy.
Okay, Lucy. I can't believe you're making me do this. I've had a crazy freaking week. So I'm trying to multitask. I'm in the car, so I'll try to answer quickly. First question was about what I learned for this training block, that I am not a summer person. I hate the freaking heat. I couldn't wait for it to be over, so it was very appreciative of the cool weather. But also, I worked really hard to try to build on what I had put together for Boston, with the hopes to end the year strong. So that was that. And I guess, who did I meet in mile 20? Going into this race with a lot of apprehension and anxiety over a busted knee and some health issues. I really tackled it very conservatively on the front end. So it wasn't until probably mile 15 and 16 that I felt confident enough to at least give it a go, not knowing what would kind of pan out. So by mile 20, it was my little badass self. I worked freaking hard, and I wasn't willing to stop or do something different. My mantra for this race was be where your feet are. So really focusing on, every stride, the current mile, not worrying about what the next one would look like. That really helped me. The last 2 miles were brutal because I was tired. But other than that, I had a great time, and I was very grateful. Literally, I would say that it was all gratitude. Not only that my body was able to keep up with the training and executing the race, but just so grateful that I was surrounded by so much love and support, and I just loved our runcation. So it just really meant a lot to me. And so there it is. Now I look forward to some rest, and I know that next year is going to look a little bit different for me from a race perspective. I'm not going to be able to, do what I've enjoyed doing, meaning kind of going out there with an open heart and seeing what this body does each and every time, because I'm going to have to start from scratch as I get ready for Boston. But I'm excited, and I love our people, and CIM was so much fun. I can't wait to do it again at another race with all my friends. I hope this is good enough. It's as good as you're gonna get, girl. Bye.
So what did I learn training for CIM? So I lost my job this summer, and with it, the structure, connection, and really a lot of my identity that had been tied up in my career and the work that I do. This training was really a wonderful gift. It helped to fill that gap. Early mornings with the Joneses gave me accountability, consistent effort gave me structure, and watching real results, that rebuilt my confidence. I started believing that I was capable of more, not just faster times, but bigger risks in life too. So I am so proud that I kept rebuilding one run at a time. The lessons I took from miles 20 to 26.2, precision hydration, carb mix, and gels, is a gastrointestinal science experiment that I did not want to conduct. At mile 18, that was a hard lesson to learn. When my heart rate kept spiking, I just had to slow down. It overruled everything that my head was telling me, that my legs were telling me. It was really important that I lived to run another day. And then I'll say I started this race with a plan A, which was a big, audacious goal that I really had no idea if I could actually hit. And I have zero regrets about that. That early cushion let me survive those ugly miles at the end and still finish proud. I'd say that sometimes you need the ambitious start to give yourself permission for an imperfect finish. Oh, and next time I will definitely practice fueling more.
During this training block, I learned just how little you can train and still complete a half marathon. And around mile 10, I learned that I like it that way.
The goal for CIM was really just to have fun and get the volume in, be comfortable mentally and physically to go run a half marathon. Never done a runcation or whatever you want to call it, but it was a fun experience. And the thing I learned about myself, I guess, was after mile 10 was I saw these folks, these folks that may have been like way over 60. I think that one was a guy and one was an older lady. They were sort of crooked, but they were running and they were doing the full marathon. And I thought to myself, man, what great at that age. And then I saw people hobbling who were doing the full marathon. And for me, running the second leg, this must have been like past mile 23, and they were determined to finish. And I just thought to myself, like, man, dig in. When you start to feel that pain, like you all call it the pain cave that Nate has so many times tried to talk me into decorating the pain cave ahead of time. And I was just thinking about grit and just the need to build that. So as I start training for Publix, which is really building on the volume I've worked on through getting ready for CIM, that's one thing I intend to start working on. More grit, and playing with that pain cave a bit.
All right, Lucy, you might be the only person I would do this for. But here we go. So you wanted to know what I learned this training cycle. I don't know that I learned anything really new, but the saying that keeps standing out to me is, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I always knew the Joneses were a special group, but it was really fun this training cycle, having so many people training for the same race or races around the same time, and just seeing how everybody showed up for each other big time, and everyone not training for this marathon, just supporting in the early miles, the fast miles, the workouts, just really showing up for each other was really cool, and made this training block feel really fun. Or maybe that was just because I wasn't marathon training and I stopped at 15. But anyway, what did I learn about myself at mile 10? Well, mile 10 feels a lot better when you're running with a bunch of people that are running 26. In all seriousness, though, I don't know what it was. It was the best I have ever felt, the strongest I have ever felt in a half marathon. And I think that was largely because I wasn't focused on myself or my time. My main goal was to support Dee and help pace her. And it took all of the focus and attention off of myself. And I found myself at mile 10 actually feeling great. But yeah, maybe I'll just run half marathons where everyone else is running the marathon, and then 13 doesn't feel like so much.
Hi, I'm going to answer the two questions that Lucy asked. The first question was, is there anything from the training block for this last half marathon or marathon that you wanted to share. And I did the half marathon relay with Lucy as my partner. And so something that I would share is that a lot of times people will say that if you want to go faster, go alone, and if you want to go farther, go together. And I found that not to be true for me. If I wanted to go faster or if I wanted to go farther, it was better for me to go together. So show up to track Wednesdays. Whenever someone says, hey, I'm doing a long run with work, just say yes, even if you don't think you want to, because it always works out for the benefit of you and the other person. And then the second question was, what did you learn about yourself or life after your mid-mile? So mine was mile 10. So at mile 8, I'd been running with Carrie and Dee because Dee and Carrie were pushing the pace and they were doing so good. And that was pushing my own pace, kind of. I hadn't really trained to run 8 miles. I was running 8-minute miles. I was more running like an 8:20, 8:30. So they were moving quick, and I lost them at mile 8. And so I ran the last 5 miles with no music or company, which was weird because I've never trained with no music. And so people that do that, y'all are crazy. Could not be me. It was very quiet. But I did come to the realization while I was running that everyone that is running is either running from something, or they're running to something, or they're running through something. And in this race, specifically with these people, it felt like I was running through things because I had company for the first section of the race, and I knew that I was going to be met at the end by people, and it was just the most incredible experience. I've never done a trip like that. I've never run a race like that, and I would not have been able to do it on my own. So really grateful for all of you Joneses.
Hi Joneses, Happy New Year. Lucy wants to know, what was your favorite race? And I would have to say my most favorite race was running the half marathon Napa to Sonoma. There was a wine festival at the end, multiple wineries there, like 30 wineries. What better way to end a race than drinking wine? And I would say the one thing that I've learned about myself over the last year that I'm very thankful for this Joneses group is, when you put your mind to something and you commit and you stay disciplined, the results will come. And that seems pretty cliche, but I really wanted to get back into running this year, and I completed 8 races and joined your group in the spring, and it's been life-changing for me. So I just want to thank you all for welcoming me with open arms, and I hope to have a great new year to come with all of you. Happy New Year.
Just like I had ChatGPT help me with my training block with the millions of questions I asked it, I had ChatGPT help me write this poem about it. Confidence is built, not wished into place. No shortcuts exist in the training race. Some days it's fun, some boring and long. Some days you wonder what you're doing wrong. Motivation fades, confidence bends, both rise and fall, then rise again. So when belief is tired or gone, you lace up anyway and get it done. And for miles not run alone, for super early starts and strength you've shown. Thank you, Joneses, for every mile I knew you believed in me and carried me through. And then at mile 20, I knew I could do it, one foot in front of the other.
Hey everyone, David Brunner here. First, I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, and I hope you have a fantastic time with your friends and family. Speaking of fantastic times, my favorite event of the year is an easy one. It was 2 weeks in Europe with Derby, finishing up with the Berlin Marathon. That was such an amazing and special time for me. We have now 4 of the majors down and only 2 to go. Hope my legs and back hold out. So, speaking of which, what did I learn this year? So, being injured part of the year, I actually was a supporter and spectator for several races as opposed to being a participant. And I learned that it's just as much fun, if not more, supporting your friends to PRs and finishing races as it is participating yourself, right? It's not just that you get to sleep in late, sip coffee while they're out having pain. You're sharing the moment with them and you're reliving experiences that you had as well. So I highly recommend that. amazing time. You know, speaking of which, you know, this group had so many PRs and successes in 2025. You guys are amazing. Congratulations. You're inspiring, right? A special thanks to Lucy, our rock, the one who keeps us all together. Finally, you know, here's to a great and amazing 2026. I look forward to spending a lot of time with you guys, attending races, and sharing in your successes. Peace out.